music, art, physical education and health. 9. Magandang morning, mga estudyante ng ESTI, PCIC, at ESE. We will now proceed with our lesson for today. Topics. Lesson 1: Fitness Assessments. What is fitness assessments? Target heart rate measurement. Target heart rate chart. Heart rate training. Types of stretching exercise. Performance of the physical fitness test. Lesson focus. You got the new attitude for knowing that fitness is not a destination that you occasionally visit. Rather, fitness is a road trip, an ongoing state of health. Your participation in fitness activities consistently and regularly ensures you an improved quality of life, zest of renewed energy, and focus on making healthy lifestyle choices. Fitness is the process and fitness is the reward. Fitness assessments is a series of tests that helps your trainer determine your physical fitness level and aids in developing your personalized program. The results can identify your strengths and weaknesses in relation to your physical fitness and help in setting attainable fitness goals. Target heart rate, THR, measurement. When exercising, are you doing too much or not enough? Knowledge about your heart or pulse rate can help you monitor your fitness level with your training zone during physical activity. Pulse rate is the number of heartbeats per minute, BPM, based on the number of contractions of the ventricles. The pulse is the bulge of an artery from waves of blood that course through the blood vessels each time the heart beats. To check your pulse rate, turn your left hand up so that your palm is facing up. Place the index finger and finger of your other hand on the inside of your wrist, at the base of your thumb. Press the radial artery gently until you can feel your pulse. To record your pulse, use a watch with the second hand. Count the number of beats felt in 30 seconds, then multiply it by 2, beats per minute or BPM. Equals, beats in 30 seconds, times 2. The normal heart rate at rest for children aged 6 to 17 years old is 70 to 100 beats per minute or BPM. Adults age 18 years old and above have a normal heart rate at rest of 60 to 100 BPM. Let's watch the video on how to take your pulse rate. Target heart rate or THR. To get your target heart rate, you have to compute for your maximum heart rate or MHR first. Here is the formula for the MHR. MHR equals 220 minus your age. Once you get your MHR, which is called your predicted maximal heart rate or PHMR, you can now get your THR for light intensity, moderate intensity, and high intensity workout. Light intensity, THR equals MHR times 0.65. Moderate intensity, THR equals MHR times 0.75. High intensity, THR equals MHR times 0.85. Look the target heart rate or THR chart. Heart training zone. Are you exercising in the right intensity? You need to know your heart rate to assess your intensity. Take your heart rate 5 minutes after the start of your exercise and take it again before you go into your cooldown. Zones are calculated by taking into consideration your maximum heart rate, HR max, and your resting heart rate, HR rest. Types of stretching exercise. Static stretching is a stretch held in a challenging but comfortable position for a period of time, usually between 10 to 30 seconds, and the most common form of stretching for general fitness. It is considered safe and effective to improve overall flexibility. Look at the image of static stretching exercises. Let's watch the video of static stretching exercise.
For the wall calf stretch, begin standing near the base of a wall and place the instep of one foot up as high as you can get it with that same heel on the ground. From there, use the back leg to help press forward as you gently try to bring the hips closer to the wall, getting a deep stretch into the calf. Those of you looking for a little bit more of an advanced stretch can try the pike calf stretch. From a push-up position, begin by placing the instep of one foot on top of the Achilles tendon of the other. From there, push back with your upper body as you raise your hips towards the ceiling and press your heel down towards the ground. Another great way to stretch the calf involves the use of a stretch strap. Begin by looping the strap underneath the ball of one foot and then sit up in a nice tall upright posture. From there, gently pull back so that you get the toes of one foot pointed back towards your torso. You can use the opposite foot as a gauge as to how much dorsiflexion you're getting. Moving up into the hamstrings, we'll once again be using the stretch strap for the three-way hamstring stretch. Begin by looping the band around the ball of one foot and then gently pulling that leg back, maintaining a slight bend in the knee. Pay attention to the opposite leg, which should be pressing into the ground with the toes pointed up towards the ceiling. After holding the neutral position for about 20 to 30 seconds, bring your leg up and out to the side, just outside the shoulder on that same side of the body. This will hit a different area of the hamstring as well as some of the adductors or inner thighs. Finally, take your leg to the outside across the opposite shoulder, bringing the IT band into the stretch. Next up, we'll be targeting the muscles of the groin with the short adductor stretch. From a seated upright position, begin by bringing the soles of your feet together and then gently pressing down on the outside of the knees. I like to stretch up against a wall to maintain a good upright posture. To stretch the long adductors, place your hips up against the base of a wall and then gently let your legs drop down the wall, allowing gravity to induce the stretch. Once you get to the position where you feel a deep stretch, bring your arms in for support to make sure that you don't overstretch, as well as to help you get back out of position once you've completed the stretch. Moving up into the glutes, we'll begin with the lying figure 4 stretch. There are two versions here. For the beginner's version, From a lying position with both knees bent, start by bringing one leg up and placing it on the top of the opposing knee. From there, simply reach between your legs to grab your hamstring and gently pull back towards your chest. For those of you who have the flexibility and want a little bit deeper stretch, instead of reaching through the legs, reach around grabbing the top of the knee. This will place that top leg under a much deeper stretch, and you should feel it even more in the glutes than the first version. Do not force the stretch though. If you're fine with the beginner's version, start there and work your way up. Here's a more advanced version of a glute stretch for those of you looking for something a little deeper. It's called the pigeon stretch with lat. To execute the pigeon stretch, place the knee under the midline of the body and then settle down onto the forearms, getting the torso nice and long. Reaching the arm underneath the same side that you're stretching will give you a great stretch in the opposing lat as well as deepen the stretch on the glute. So once again, I'm tucking my right knee underneath my body, getting the torso nice and long, settling down onto the forearms to get that initial stretch. To increase the difficulty, I'm going to lift up a bit so that I can clear that left arm underneath the body. If the addition of the lat is too much for you, just stick with the first version of the stretch down on the forearms. Next up, we've got the couch stretch to target those tight hip flexors and quads. Begin in a high kneeling position in front of a bench or couch and start out by trying to get your heel in contact with your glute. Bringing the opposing leg forward, you're going to squeeze the glute of the back leg as you drop down and try to get a nice diagonal line from your knee through your hip, shoulder, and ear. This will stretch out the hip flexor on the back leg. From there, you want to try to settle into a more vertical position and gradually get yourself nice and upright with the heel in contact with the glute. Moving into the upper body, we will start off with the lateral neck stretch. From a seated position, sitting up straight and tall, grab the underside of a chair to anchor your shoulder down. Then come up and over with your opposing arm, bringing your ear towards your opposite shoulder. It will stretch out the side of the neck and the shoulder. To involve the levator scapulae, simply turn your head to the side, drop your chin into your armpit, and grab your head from behind, bringing your chin down towards your armpit. To execute the pec anterior deltoid stretch, you're going to need a door jamb or other sturdy object you know is not going to move. Begin by placing your forearm up flush against the door jamb and then rotate so that you're stepping slightly across your body to get that stretch through the pec and the front of the shoulder. Note the elbow in line with the shoulder as you simply rotate across your body. To execute this first lat stretch, you're once again going to need a sturdy anchoring point that you know isn't going to move. Once you grab the hold of it, simply sit back into your hips and allow your torso to lengthen, getting a nice stretch in the lats. You can easily increase the intensity of the stretch by shifting one side to the other. Just make sure that you're holding each position for a minimum of 20 to 40 seconds at a time. For an even deeper stretch in the lats, you can try the bench lat stretch with external rotation. Begin in a kneeling position and place your hands down on a bench and rotate your palms so they face the ceiling. Once there, again sit back into your hips and try to maintain a nice long torso as you ease into the stretch. Just as with the pec stretch, for the bicep stretch you'll need a door jamb or sturdy object that isn't going to move. Begin by making a fist and then placing the thumb side of that fist up about shoulders level and simply rotate away from the body. Once again, the inside of the fist goes on the door jamb as you rotate away from your fist. To effectively stretch your triceps, begin by bringing your arm up and over behind your back as if reaching for your shoulder blades. Come across with the opposite arm and gently grab the elbow, bringing yourself into a deeper stretch. As you do this, it's important that you don't increase the arch in your lower back to try to gain more range of motion, as you can see here from a profile view. Make sure to maintain a nice neutral torso with the abs lightly braced as you come up and over with that opposite arm and gently increase the stretch. Finally, we'll round things out by stretching out the forearm muscles. We'll begin with the flexors on the front side of the forearm. Begin from a kneeling position by putting your palms down on the ground and turning your fingers back towards you. Once in position, lightly shift your hips back to increase the stretch on the front of the forearm. To stretch the extensors on the back side of the forearm, place the backs of the hands down on the ground and simply reverse the motion by once again sitting back into the hips until you feel a stretch across the back side of the forearm.
Dynamic stretching is performed through a challenging but comfortable range of motion repeatedly, usually 10 to 12 times, improving functional range of motion and mobility in sports and activities of daily living. Look at the image of dynamic stretching exercises. Let's watch the video of dynamic stretching exercise.
Hi, I'm Logan Cornell, and along with Eric Sapp, I'm one of the 2 assistant sprint coaches for the Blue Spring South girls track team. Today we're going to be talking about the dynamic stretching routine that we do at the beginning of each of our practices, whether it's regular season or the off season. This routine is something that Coach Sapp and myself put together after several weeks of researching the advantages of dynamic stretching over static stretching, which is what we'd always done in the past. And after reading a lot of the research done by LSU and the University of Arkansas, we've decided this is the best way to go for our athletes. There's 5 reasons, which I'll mention here in a second, as to why we decided to go with this new routine. The 5 major reasons we switch from static to dynamic stretching are: 1, it raises the muscle core temperature; 2, it prepares muscles in a sports-specific way; improves the range of motion in both your muscles and joints; 4, it prepares our runners both physically and mentally for that day's practice; and 5, it helps increase our speed while reducing the risk of injury. The first stretch we do are arm circles. We hold our arms straight out to our side, start with small circles, gradually getting bigger, doing 20 forward, stopping, and then do 20 to the back, again starting small, getting bigger. This stretch increases the blood circulation in the shoulder and stretches out the entire shoulder girdle. This is the torso twist. While it can be done several ways, we have our runners do it with their elbows bent at 90 degrees, kind of like how they are when they run. We start slowly, we gradually increase the range of motion. The key here is to keep the legs and hips still. This stretches the upper and lower back, getting the blood flowing. Next are trunk rotations. These can either be done with hands on hip or like we have JC doing, hands over her head. Again, we're going to start gradually working bigger. We'll do 15 to 20 to the right and then 15 to 20 going back the other direction. This stretches out the upper and lower back, but it also begins to incorporate the hamstrings as well. These are knee rotations. These are done to increase the blood flow into the knee joints. They can be done either with your hands on your knees or your hands off your knee, like JC is doing right now. And again, this is to get blood flow into the joint. Make sure to go both directions, both clockwise and counterclockwise, for 15 to 20 reps. Next are ankle rotations, and again it's the same process as with the knee. It's to get the blood flow circulation going in the joint. Make sure we go both counterclockwise and clockwise for both the left and right foot. And again, we need to get that blood flowing, get the joint flexible, and again, hoping to increase the range of motion. Prisoner squats are our next stretch. The athlete's going to lock their fingers behind their head, have their feet shoulder width apart. Elbows and shoulders are going to be back, so keeping the wide chest. Your torso is upright, so you're not to bend at the waist. Squat to parallel, then back up. Now this stretch targets the quadriceps, activates your core, and just about every other lower body muscle, including your glutes, hamstrings, and calves. Next is a sumo squat to stand. This time we're going to keep our hands underneath our toes. If you're not quite as flexible, maybe around your ankles. You're going to start in the squat position, lift up, keeping the chest wide and a flat back. One thing JC's doing wrong here is we'd like to have our feet a little wider than shoulder width apart instead of so close together. And again, 15 to 20 reps. These are our alternating split lunges. They can also be done more upright without your hands on the ground. Make sure when you bring the front leg forward that your knee does not go out past your toes, is to keep the strain off of your knee. This stretches your glutes, your hamstrings, your core, your quadriceps. 8 to 10 reps for each leg for a total of 15 to 20. Next is our IT band stretch. This starts out with a side squat, making sure our toes are pointed straight ahead. When we come up out of the side squat, bring the foot behind the other leg, rolling onto the side of the foot, and bringing the arms over the head to get that stretch all the way through the hips. We've incorporated this stretch to try to reduce the number of hip, knee, and back pains that some of our athletes were experiencing. Next is our leg swing with partners. Now this can also be done individually, either using a fence or a wall for balance. We're going to start with both feet directly under our hips, then we're going to swing the outside leg forward and backward, gradually increasing the range of motion until the leg swings as high as it will comfortably go. This is going to stretch the hip flexors, hip extensors, hip adductors, and hip abductors. Next is the side leg swings. Again, can be done with a partner or individually. The key is to keep the body stable and balanced. We're going to swing the legs fluidly without being bouncy or jerky actions. Stand upright, keeping the back straight. A slight forward lean like she has here is fine, but avoid bending forward at the waist or rounding the back. Both legs should be fairly straight and the knees shouldn't be locked. Next is the iron cross. You're going to start lying flat on your back with your arms straight out to the side, and then you're going to bring your leg across your body while trying to keep your shoulders on the ground. Gradually increase how high towards your head you bring your leg. This is going to warm up and lengthen the muscles in the lower back and hips. The more you straighten the leg when you bring it across your body, the more the hamstrings are going to get incorporated. Again, 15 to 20 reps total, which would be 8 to 10 reps for each leg. Next is the prone scorpion. This time we're going to be flat on our stomach with our arms out to the side. The key here is to bring your leg across your body, trying to touch the toe to the ground on the opposite side. Again, the key here is gradually increasing the range of motion as you go. This is going to stretch out the hip flexors, hip extensors, hip abductors, and hip abductors. Next we have our toe walks, which is part of our shin splint prevention. We're going to be straight up on our legs as high as our toes as possible, taking small steps, walking 20 meters down, rest, and then 20 meters back. We'll do the same thing with our toes facing in. Again, as high as our toes as possible with our toes facing in, 20 meters down, rest, turn around, and walk back 20 meters again with our toes facing in, so we're hitting the shin from a different direction. And finally, toe walks with the toes out, which JC here needs to have her feet a little more pointed out, but again, toes pointed out, walking down 20 meters up on our toes as high as possible. Once we get 20 meters, we stop, relax for a few seconds, turn and walk 20 meters back. Next on our shin lifts would be toe lifts. This is going to be simply standing up on our toes for 30 seconds. We'll do anywhere from 2 to 3 sets of these. The final thing we do for our shin splint prevention are heel walks. This time we'll be on our heels with our toes pointed up as far as possible, and again taking small steps with our legs straight, 20 meters down, relax, turn, 20 meters back. Again, the key here, our toes pointed up as straight as possible, taking short steps. The final stretch we do as part of our shin splint prevention is what we call the 1, 2, 3 calf stretch. Again, we're going to take 3 steps and then reach down, grab our toe to stretch the calf out. Like the toe walks, these can also be done barefoot on the turf, but the key thing here is reach down, toe up, grab the toes with a little squat and get that calf stretched out. Alternating side lunges. We're going to start with our feet directly under our hips. We're going to step with our foot, making sure that our feet stay perfectly straight and that we don't roll up on the sides of our feet. Once we step out, we're going to gather our feet together again. We're going to do a 180-degree turn, do the same thing the other direction. We'll do this 15 meters down and then 15 meters back. These are walking lunges. We're going to step forward, keeping our toe and knee pointing directly forward. We're going to make sure to not let our front knee travel past our toes to keep the strain off of our knees. The back leg knee drops to just above the ground without touching. Arms will be at 90 degrees at the elbows, like as if we were running. We're going to push forward off the back leg, stepping over the opposite knee, and repeat the process again. This is going to be 15 meters down and back. It stretches our glutes, our quadriceps, and our hamstrings. Next are what we call walking knee hugs. We're going to have the athlete bring the knee to the chest, pull it in tight, then take a few steps forward and do the same thing with the opposite leg. Now we can add to this by when we pull the knee to the chest, also stepping up on the opposite leg on our toes and contracting our glutes. Next are walking quads. This time we're going to bend at the knee so that we can grab our foot behind us, pulling our knee to our buttocks. The key here is to not crank on the foot, but slowly push back on the knee to get the stretch in your quadricep. Again, we're going to do this 15 meters down, 15 meters back. This can also be done for a partner if you have trouble with your balance. Next are dino walks or mule kicks. The athlete's going to take a step forward, reach down and touch either the ground or their foot with their hands while raising the back leg behind them. This is going to help strengthen the core and stretch the hamstring. We'll do 15 meters down, 15 meters back, gradually increasing the range of motion as the athlete gets loose. Next are what we call Russians or high kicks. The athlete's going to step forward, swinging their foot in front of them, keeping their legs straight. We're gradually going to increase the height of the leg swing as they get loose. We're going to reach out with either arm to help maintain balance. A key point here is making sure that when we swing our leg in front of us that we're keeping our legs straight, our toes straight. We want to keep everything in a straight line because after all, the fastest way down the track is a straight line. We don't want to be counterproductive. Next is our sumo walk. We're going to stand with our feet roughly twice shoulder width apart. And we're going to squat down. We're going to grab at our ankles. We're going to go down to parallel. We're going to hold for a brief second, back up, take a few steps, alternate directions, and repeat the process. Again, this is going to stretch out all the same things that the regular squat did, except really hit the inner thighs a lot harder. The last dynamic stretch we do is karaoke. Here we're going to make sure that when we bring the front leg over, we're going to snap it over, bringing it up to 90 degrees. Again, focusing on that stepping over the opposite knee thing that we're really going to be focusing on in our speed drills.
Fitness assessment, performance of the physical fitness test. Physical fitness test and the components being measured. Zipper test. To test the upper arm and shoulder flexibility. Sit and reach. To test the flexibility of the lower extremities. 3-minute step test. To measure cardiovascular endurance. 90-degree push-up. To measure strength of the upper extremities. Curl-ups. To measure strength of abdominal muscles. 50-meter sprint. To measure running speed. Basketball pass. To measure explosive strength and power of the upper body muscles. Standing long jump. To measure explosive strength and power of the leg muscles. Hexagon agility test. To measure agility. Stick drop test. To measure reaction time. Paper juggling. To measure coordination. Stork balance stand test. To measure balance. Refer to the following tables of targets according to your age and gender for the interpretation of your scores. Performance target for boys. Performance target for girls. That would be all for our session today. Hanggang sa muli nating pagkikita. God bless you all. Let's recall. Compute for the target heart rate of a 17-year-old. Let's explain. 1. Describes the types of stretching exercises and the benefits of stretching. 2. Why is it important to know whether one is exercising enough or too much? Let's connect. Is performing regular exercise a wise and responsible decision? Support your answer. Reflection. How has your new attitude and monitoring skills toward fitness helped you with your fitness goals?